What are we talking about again? We can't finish anything or whatever?
Motivation.
Motivation? I'm not very motivated for this.
You're motivated for this video? How'd you get motivated for this video? Hey everyone, welcome to another Lords of War Games and Hobbies video. I'm Chris, this is Jay, I guess. And today we're going to talk about a topic I know a lot of people struggle with. I know we do from time to time, but a lot of people come to us and ask us these questions because we've been doing, we've been running businesses for a while, but also we've been doing the hobby for almost close to 25, maybe more than 25 years. So yeah, and we finished tons and tons of armies over the course of that time. So people ask, why can't I finish anything, or how do you guys stay motivated in the hobby, or some version of that question.
Not easy.
So it's not and video. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Figure it out. So I don't know. I have some ideas, but what comes to your mind when you hear that question? Usually.
Sure. And I think Chris and I will have probably both similar answers and different answers because everyone will have a different way or thing that works for them. So I would say there's a couple. I would even dissect my own hobby career in kind of several phases. The first one was getting the first army done, I thought.
Yeah.
And I often have this discussion with lots of clients and customers here. It's a very common thing, and I want to always stress that getting that first army done is actually one of the biggest things that you'll probably ever do, because
the first mountain to climb is
the first mountain. Yeah. And then you also then have multiple things happen. You have this army that you can always fall back on. You can always be like, well, I have this painted army. You can always look to it and appreciate it. and then you also, it's a culmination of a lot of skills, whether it's the how you got there, learning how to do the basing and maybe whatever transfers, decals, using washes, all the techniques end up getting used there. So you have that foundation to build on. So yeah, definitely I always stress, and you see us with customers be just try and get these little wins, get these little victories, whatever it is, finish a small thing.
There's something intrinsically powerful too about just knowing you can do something.
Yeah. And
because you've done it before. Literally you've done it before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's big for sure. It's massive. For me, that was a big thing. I remember. In the case for me, it was the motivation was to get my army painted so that I.
Yes. How did you do it?
So I could play.
Yeah.
So I could play it at GW. I was.
Was it your Eldar?
It was my High Elf army.
Oh, okay.
And it was in what year would it have this been? Early 2000s, 2001 or 2. It was 14 or 15 or whatever.
Sure.
And this red and white and silver kind of High Elf army or whatever. I just instead of the blue scheme, I did the red scheme. But I don't know. I just did it. I guess I got I was really motivated again to go play. I think what happened was, if I remember correctly, it started. I split. It was half the army first because my friend and I played in this doubles league, and you needed to get 1,000 points finished. So that was the first jump. So that meant I had to get I don't know. It was Warhammer Fantasy Battles, so it was still 50 models. But I think once I got my first unit of archers and spearmen done, and then I felt okay, I just need to finish a few. I don't know. I think it was some cavalry or something, and a few heroes, and I was there. So it was. Yeah, it was I was painting there was a deadline, I guess. So I guess I'll let you go into that more. I feel that works for you and me as well as deadlines. Set deadlines, even if you don't have an event. Make one up. I don't know. Just set deadlines. So
yeah, and I feel so. Just my own little bit of history. I think it literally took me 8 years to fit. I was in the hobby for 8 years before I literally finished an army. Before I actually got his lives. And I fall victim to what I see a lot of our own customers having which is the people call it the hobby ADD or whatever. Mm-hmm. Where you just you always want to get the new cool hot thing, and I was a young person, and I was very susceptible to that. I was oh, this is new, let me try this specialist game. So I was always buying something new and kind of working on it for a little bit. When that high wore off, go back to the Games Workshop, figure out what the next shot was going to be, and just keep going, right? And it wasn't until actually I was closer to either 19 years old, 20 years old, where I wanted to work at Games Workshop, and I actually was oh, maybe I should actually try and do this properly. I had done like smaller little 500 point armies, but never like a big thing before.
2,000 or whatever.
So I think Jay's onto something there. I think one thing I always often say to people, like, and this is never to like insult anyone, but like the hobby is a lot like life. And when you don't have any sort of like measurable goals that you're working towards, it's easy just to kind of get lost in the day-to-day grind.
Day-to-day, yep.
And to not push things forward, right? So a good example, like if you've kind of picked up a new army, I'm working on some White Scars right now, and if I don't have like a deadline of when they need to get finished, like it's easy to be like, oh, Helldivers 2 came out.
Oh boy,
I think I'll pick that up.
Yeah, right.
Or
getting
X, Y, yeah, that's right. It's so crammed.
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z, like anything can get in your way because there's no obligation. And I know, like saying words like obligation, it sounds crazy because you're like, hell, man, I do this shit for fun.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad kind of obligation. It's more like you really want to finish things because it's going to give you a better experience. So how do you do it? So how would you like set a goal for like if you were doing like a new project?
Yeah, I mean for myself, I guess there's different times of the year. So like if I'm getting ready for a con or a tournament, those are easy because it's like a fixed date in the calendar, and then I can like write some lists, and then I can look at what I need to finish and almost you like literally like plan a schedule. Like this needs to be done by this week. This needs to be done by this week, and you kind of plus and minus a few days and give yourself some leeway and just try and grind through it. So that's like a very structured method, and then other parts of the year where I don't have one of those things, I use smaller, like more, could be just like a game with a friend, and I just have that internal, like, well, I want to be painted or have at least this painted or that airbrushed or whatever. So yeah, you set these little goalposts or whatever. Just try not to push them too far back every time or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit like in a job, like you kind of. And it's not to say I do enjoy it a lot still, but I just like, if I want to get things done. And actually also, this is like something maybe isn't talked about enough, and because different people have different like standards of how they want their models to look, is I will occasionally tweak with that depending on what it is. So if I'm painting, kind of like there's a couple of years like it's funny, like I had a couple of years where I had 1 year where I like put a lot of effort into one army, and then I had a couple of years where I like took a break from that because I was like, well, if I want to get certain armies painted, I can't, like, I just can't spend whatever X 20.
You can't paint your Magnus Opum every year.
Not every army, not every model has to be to that standard. I know some people have like a certain thing they want to do, like really crazy high quality on every model, and I appreciate that. Good for you. But I think if you want to actually get things done though, so then you do have to dial it down a bit. You have to find quick ways in, and it's like there's that phrase we use a lot: is the best painted is just painted or whatever.
Yeah, the best
it's just finished, and it doesn't matter. Like
the best
slam some colors on it.
Yeah.
And that's always vastly better than the gray army or whatever. So we always encourage that here. We have customers that come and sit paint here all the time. And sometimes they'll start building something else or this, and you're like, dude, just finished. You got this 10 guys or 80%. Just finish them.
Yeah.
And then they get them done, and they're like, wow, it feels really good. And you're like, yes. And you also, I have the weird thing in my own mind where I'm like, this is something I will struggle with is to paint. If I paint a certain thing, and it was like, so for example, in my city's army, I have 20 Fusiliers. I don't know if I could do another 20 because they were so painful to do. So I have this thing: if I needed to do 40 in my life, I have to do them in one motion, or it'll never happen. Like, so that's a thing too. Sometimes is like you have to be know yourself, I guess. But yeah, no, I think tweaking, scheduling and tweaking the effort level will help get you there. And this isn't to say that the only way to do the hobby is to finish armies.
No. There's plenty of people that are probably watching that like just paint like maybe a bust or a figure.
Paint whatever you like.
What you like. Mm-hmm. But even on those sorts of things, and I've been guilty of this too. If there's no goal or any end like deadline, maybe you're not going to a figure show that year or something like that. It's very easy to start a project, put some paint on it. Like I have a Viking at home. I was painting a little bit. It's just kind of been sitting half painted. Sometimes it's hard to kind of motivate yourself to pull it back out and keep working on it. So I think sort of goal oriented sort of stuff can work no matter what you're painting.
Yeah.
And that can even mean like just being like really sort of kind of matter of fact about your time as well, right? Like you're like, okay, I have a pretty busy week. I know that on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evening after the kids go to bed or whatever, I have like a couple hours there. And the wife is doing XYZ, so she's not going to bug me. And so I can dedicate that to paint. And if that's your thing, it's almost like working out. It's like, this is my time that I'm going to enjoy my hobby and I'm going to do something. Maybe you don't need to have like an end goal in mind to push yourself. You can just work on things through that time, right?
No, I mean, the workout analogy is another good one that I use often, and someone imparted on me is like, yeah, painting really is like jogging or whatever, especially in the beginning. It's just like you go do it and you're like, it's fun, but it's like slow and you don't see the results quickly enough. And you're always like, how do these people enjoy running? Like I'm one of those people, when it comes to literally running, I'm just like, how do people just go and run and they enjoy it? And I'm like, getting there is tough, but I
think it's like people not sticking around long enough for the payoff, right?
Yes, and but you do have to be regular. So again, going to this like cities project or whatever. So this is a brand new army for me. So this is 2,000 points done from. I will be done from September to March. So whatever that is, 6 months. And after the first month and judging how long it took me to finish a few models, I calculated that like basically like I had to paint almost every day. Now it doesn't mean you have to, but that 30 minutes a day thing, I know we hear it so often in dumb infomercials, but with painting and getting things done, it really does work really well. And I know I'm going to sound like an infomercial. It really does work.
Yeah, I swear. Yeah. You got the jerk weight thing going? It works, man. Shake weight.
Oh, yeah.
I swear it works.
Sounds like we could sell that for shaking paint.
Monetized.
Yeah.
The paint shaker? Yeah.
Paint shaker.
The Green Stuff Worlds one looks kind of like that.
Anyway.
It's funny.
We're really professional here.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but yeah, just paint a little bit every day. And then like try not to like, if you miss a day, it's okay. But like that little bit does, because you can knock out these boring things actually. What happens is like the first few days of doing that, you're just doing like, because it's not enough time to do anything really technical, so you're just doing like little base coats and washes, and I'm gonna paint the belts on these guys or whatever. And then by the time you get to the next week, you're like, oh, it's actually just enjoyable stuff. There's just maybe I'm painting, I don't know, a face or like the sword or something, and the rest of the model looks almost done too. And you also get these like little wins where your army, where even though maybe the models aren't like fully finished, but they're like finished enough that if you put some tufts on the base, it's like it looks pretty good on the table already. So all of these things, I mean, if you're in a profession that involves project management or logistics, all of those things will transfer into getting models done. And I guess our topic was motivation, so staying motivated. So yeah, I think accumulating small wins is the key.
Yeah, for sure. If you're never around for that payoff, like I see a lot of people work on stuff and get like 70% or 80% of the way there, but never finishing or like fully finishing those models to whatever that they deem is finished, and not really getting that win. And that kind of burns you out over time. I remember very recently I was painting some Seraphon stuff, and I kept changing my list week to week or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I ended up painting the Slan Star Master. I did like 70% of the work on him.
That was tough.
And then I pivoted to using Lord Croak.
It was like the same guy, but
which is like the same model, but with more stuff on him.
More stuff.
So then I felt like I was just going back to the beginning before I even finished my Star Master. And I would have probably just finished him if I didn't have like a tighter deadline. But I kind of just had to like put him in a box and then move on to the new model. And that didn't feel good. I felt very like January was a very sad month for my hobby. I was like, I'm not finishing anything. It feels terrible.
Yeah, it does feel bad. It does. It does. Yeah.
But I think one of my big points would be if you're able to, I would really strongly advocate for hobbying with other people. Like get some friends together, have a night once a month, once a week, once every other week, something like that. Have some buddies that you play games with regularly. And I think just that like sort of, and obviously this is like the group mindset you'd have to be in, but like having a mindset where you want to finish things somewhat regularly. Yeah. Maybe have like, okay guys, in 3 months we're going to have a painted game.
Yep.
Or like in 2 weeks, I know we're all playing with Grey Armies. One of our units has to be painted or whatever. Yeah. Like little things like that could be like little fun challenges or whatever to kind of just motivate you forward. And then you're kind of all holding each other accountable, which is kind of powerful.
The painting group is a powerful thing. Yeah, I think a lot of people will ask us a little bit, like, oh, you guys are good at doing this hobby stuff. You paint a lot. You get all these armies. And like, there's a bit of questions like, how did you, what's the secret? And it's like, and I always refer to that. I was like, well, people have groups they mostly game with. I'm like, we mostly painted. Like, we game, but we mostly, like, it's like 80% painting, 20% gaming or whatever. So, and then you realize more and more that it's the same thing. Like, whether you're gaming or painting, it's just a vehicle to hang out. So, the same things happen. Instead of us, like, playing the game, we'll sit around and we're just painting, and I don't know, we'll throw on stupid movies or whatever. And just like in a game, you share tips. You're like, oh, don't do this next time. Oh, this, how did you do that? This technique, what paint, etc. And you just learn by like committee that way. And you'll all get better faster. And the longer, and I mean, it helped too. There was a small, I don't want to say competitive, but like we were like always trying to like everyone was trying to get better together, I guess. So, if you get form or just start an impromptu painting night, it doesn't have to be super intense. It could just be like one other person. It could literally be just two.
Yeah, and if you have like
it's massive.
If you have like a local hobby shop, it's a good place to meet people that are like in the same kind of. You're looking for people that have the same kind of goals as you, almost, right? Like they want to paint armies, like because there's people that don't want to, and that's fine. Like that's no judgment there.
No,
it's just like if you really actually want to get stuff done and you're struggling, try to find other people like yourself. Most hobby shops have like a Discord. We do as well. There might be like a hobby channel in there. Or like whatever forum you use, if there's some people that live close by, just host your own hobby night and like see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you got to be the catalyst or whatever to get those things going.
Yeah. The one last thing, I guess, we always say this and then we go on for another 10 minutes, but that I want to add is I think you should, it's valuable to kind of like, I don't want to say fully ignore, but don't subscribe too much into the Instagrams and the videos on like some of the artists and stuff. Like it's easy to fall into the like, there's like, you don't want to like kneecap yourself because you're like, oh, I don't paint like this guy or whatever.
Yeah, this is the only YouTube channel you really should be watching.
Yeah, right? yeah. But no, that's a thing. It's a phenomena that is like, again, a little more new age. Like this wasn't really a thing before. Like before it was like maybe Golden Demon would happen once a year, and you would see a White Dwarf and be like, well, those are some insane models.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't in your face all the time, so. That's the double-edged sword that you can watch and learn a ton from these artists, but also every day you're getting smashed. You're like, oh, this guy painted another incredible masterpiece.
Look at how prolific he is, and how why are they always finishing stuff and I'm not? And
right, and
like,
the standard, and that's the thing with the standard is even like it's a little easier for me because I can deconstruct what they're doing, but even then I'm just like, you really have to like paint for yourself. Don't worry about literally anyone else. Just
this is where it does kind of cross over into the body, like the weightlifting and like working out.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
You can't just be looking at tens every day or whatever.
That's right.
And be like, why don't I look like that?
Or the guy who's doing like
bro,
60 chin-ups or whatever.
You just started, bro. Yeah. Just started.
But there's also the thing like some people are kind of like phenoms at the thing they do, and it's like again you can't. It's like oh, it's so many. It's always usually it's a sports analogy because of like you can't again. Like assume that you're gonna even get there. Like it's like you have to look at it more as like nothing. Like you don't want to. You should strive for better when like that's a valuable skill. But also like there is a bit of like forget about trying to be X or Y. Just like do it because you like doing it, and it will come. It's always the thing. The more you do it, it will come. You will get to a proficiency that like you will like, and
you'll either get faster at doing the quality that you want to do, or you'll get more skilled and the quality will go up. In the same amount of time, like those
things
are the levers you can kind of pull.
They'll continually like increment little by little, different times as you go. I mean, like even today, Chris is the same. Like the quality of things that we produce is like still getting better all these years on, and there's still noticeable things. You can look at armies from like a few years ago and a couple years, just even 2-3 years ago, and now, and there's like you can see measurable differences in the quality being put out. So if you keep doing it, you'll just refine it a little bit more. If you play an instrument, it's the same. Like if you got to obviously sit down and use it and play sometimes, and you get rusty if you don't. So yeah, just ignore the Instagram. Just probably just delete the app. Just to be honest.
Whoa.
I mean, I won't, but
well, hopefully that was helpful. Please, in the comments, if you're struggling particularly with motivation and you have any questions we didn't sort of address, put them down there and we'll try to answer them the best we can. If you have any sort of like branch topics you'd like to hear us talk about, you can put them there as well. And if you haven't already, give us a subscribe. It helps us out a lot. And we have founded a Patreon as well. You can check out in the links below where you can support us and help us build the channel up. Until next time, take care.
Thanks.